Lucy, Acadia, I hope you're both doing great today. I have the second half of Dragon Masters, Wave of the Sea Dragon. Wave of the Sea Dragon. I have read the first part of this book. I'm going to read the second part today. And remember where we are in this book. The evil Astrid is trying to cast a spell that will be doom for all. And in order to counter the spell, they need to get a bunch of dragons together. And one of the dragons they need is a sea dragon. So they're off in search of a sea dragon. We have Drake and Worm. Worm is the earth dragon. We have Opeli and Ka. Ka is a lava dragon. We have Bo and Shu, and I can't remember what kind of dragon Shu is. And then we have Pania, who is Manawa's sister. Manawa is the dragon master for the sea dragon, whose name is Tani, who's huge. That's him right there. Look how big he is. They think that the other dragons are baby dragons because Tani is so big. And they've gone off to the land of Kapua, which is the land of the lava dragons, to find a sea dragon. And so now they have the sea dragon, but it turns out there is historical conflict between sea dragons and lava dragons. So they're going to try to keep that conflict under wraps. Lava dragons chase the sea dragons away from Kapua many years ago, and the sea dragons are a little bit upset about it. So they're in Kapua, they're talking about their plans, and who shows up but Astrid. So this is chapter 7, Astrid Attacks. Astrid, A-S-T-R-I-D. That's a girl's name. Astrid Attacks. Here we go. A red-headed wizard stepped out of the portal. Astrid, Drake yelled. Tani, attack, Manawa cried. Drake spun around. No, he yelled. Astrid can steal dragon powers. Manawa frowned as he held up a hand to stop Tani. See, there's Manawa on the right there. He's telling Tani to attack, and he says, okay, I'll call him off. That's right, Astrid said. The portal stayed in the air behind her, swirling. And I will steal all your dragon's powers unless you give me what I want. Drake's mind raced as he tried to figure out what to do. What do you want? He asked, even though he knew. I want my branch from the shadow bush back, of course, she said. I left it in Bracken. Drake lied. Oh, Drake told a lie. He shouldn't do that. Astrid laughed. The sound reminded Drake of a cackling crow. It's not okay to lie, by the way, but Drake lies because he's under a lot of pressure. So Astrid knows he's lying. She laughs at him. Do you really think you can fool me, little boy? She asked. When you stole my branch, I asked my gazing ball to find it. I know it's here with you. Maybe a little truth spell will loosen your tongue. She pointed at him. Red magic sparkled from her fingertips. Drake had an idea. He quickly stuck his hand in his pocket and felt for one of the thorns. Then he pressed his finger against it. Ouch! Okay, so he's got the thorn in his pocket. And remember what happens if you get pricked? I think it makes you disappear. And if you don't prick yourself again in some period of time, then you never show up again. So anyway, he says, I got to do something. She's going to hit me with the truth serum. So he pricks his finger intentionally with the thorn. And then what happens? Drake! Opeli cried. Drake looked down at his body, and he couldn't see it. He could only see an outline of his body in shadow against the sand. That's right. You become a shadow. That's what happens. He's become a shadow. There he is. You see him in the... There we go. He's a shadow. He heard Worm's voice in his head. Run, Drake! Drake ran. He ran across the cove into the trees and plants. Then he hid behind a bush and held his breath. "Very clever, Drake," Astrid called out, "but I will get the branch from you, and when I do, you will stay a shadow forever." Chapter 8, A Hard Choice. A hard choice. Drake patted his arms and legs. "Weird. Even though I look like a shadow, I still feel solid," he thought. Now that Astrid can't see me, I need to do whatever I can to protect this branch. Then he heard Opeli. "Ka, Astrid can steal your powers, but she can't steal your strength," she yelled. "Knock that wizard down with your tail." Ka is a lava dragon. See, like lava, like a volcano. "Good idea," Bo cried. "Shoo, help Ka. Just don't use your powers." Okay, so they're just going to use their normal strength as animals instead of their powers. If they use their powers, Astrid can steal the powers. Astrid spun around and saw the lava dragon stomping toward her. Shoo came from another direction, riding the air currents. "You won't stop me so easily," Astrid cried. She raised her hands to start a magical attack. Tani dived under the waves. Her tail shot up out of the water, sending a foamy wave onto shore. It splashed on the dragons and knocked Astrid off her feet. Okay, so that's good. Good job, Sea Dragon. Drake reached out to Worm with his mind. "Worm, if you can sense where I am, come find me," Drake said. "Transport us back to Bracken. We'll leave the branch there so it will be safe. Then we can return and help the others." "I can find you," Worm replied, and he began to crawl across the sand. But before Worm reached Drake, Astrid jumped to her feet. She floated in the air away from Shoo and Ka. Astrid pointed at Manawa, Opeli, and Bo. "You know how strong my magic is, Drake," she said. "Give me the branch. If you do not, I will zap your friends' dragonstones. They will no longer be able to control their dragons. I will attack the dragons, and they will use their powers to defend themselves. Then I will capture those powers." Drake froze. He knew what Astrid could do with stolen dragon powers. He had seen her breathe fire like a fire dragon. He had seen her turn living beings to stone like a stone dragon. "If I don't do what Astrid wants, it will be bad. She would have the powers of a lava dragon, a sea dragon, and a water dragon." He shivered, thinking about all the damage that Astrid could do. "If I give her the branch from the shadow bush, she'll leave us alone," Drake thought. "But then she'll be able to finish the false life spell. What should I do?" Oh, this is tough. What should I do? Chapter 9, Tricked. 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 Drake stepped out into the open. His shadow moved across the sand. "How can I trust you?" Drake asked the wizard. Put this in the middle. I'm holding it in the wrong place, aren't I? Astrid located the sound of his voice, her eyes fixed on his shadow. "Give me the branch," she said as she floated over the still swirling portal. "I'll go right back to Navid and finish my spell." Drake took a deep breath. "I hate to give up the branch," he thought, "but it's the only way to stop Astrid from hurting more of my friends." He reached the branch inside his pocket. He knew what he needed to do. Drake bit his lip and pressed his finger against the thorn. Instantly, Drake could see himself again. He was no longer a shadow. He walked up to Astrid. "Here you go," he said, holding the branch up to her. She took it from him and tucked it into her belt. A huge grin spread across her face. "Oh, you sweet, trusting boy," she said. Magical energy crackled from her fingertips. Astrid pointed at Bo. Red light streaked from her fingertips and hit the boy's dragon stone. The stone turned black. Oh, see, Astrid didn't tell the truth. She said she was just going to go away, but instead she's zapping the stones. Zap, zap, she hit Opeli's and Manawi's ahi stones next. They turned black too, so now they can't control the dragons. Oh, and the dragon's going to use their magical powers, and Astrid's going to steal the powers. That's her plan. She lied, Drake thought. Well, Drake lied, now Astrid lied. See, lying is just bad. I can't let her zap my dragonstone. I don't think Worm would use his powers without me, but I can't take that chance. He ran back into the trees. Astrid grabbed an empty bottle from her belt. Now I will attack your dragons, and they will attack me back, she cried, cackling with laughter. Then I will steal their powers. Manawa sprang forward. No, you won't, he yelled. Manawa pushed Astrid as hard as he could. Then he thudded back into the sand. Astrid's mouth opened in shock as she fell backwards into the portal. Oh, he's pushing her back into the portal. I see. No, she wailed. Good job, Manawa. Good job. Chapter 10, Fire and Water. The portal closed. The evil wizard was gone. Drake ran over and helped Manawa to his feet. Manawa, that was awesome, Drake said. Manawa grinned. Thanks, he said. Yes, you stopped Astrid from stealing our dragon's powers, Bo said. But now that she has the branch, she can use the false life spell. Drake nodded. I know, it was a hard choice. I'm sorry I trusted her. He said, what did she do to your stones? They're black. Opeli closed her eyes, then she opened them. My eye stone doesn't seem to work. I can't hear Ka in my head. And I can't hear Tani, Manawa replied. I can't hear Shu either, Bo said. Shu, can you understand me when I speak? Nod your head if you can. But Shu didn't nod. This is awful, Drake cried. It is, Bo agreed. There must be some way to... Roar! Ka let out a loud roar and stomped toward the ocean. Oh no, Ka is going to attack the sea dragon. Ka, no, Opeli yelled, running after him. Tani raised her head out of the water. Manawa ran to the water's edge and waved his arms. Be calm, Tani, he begged. Drake turned to Bo. They remember the fight from long ago. Now that Manawa and Opeli can't keep them calm, Ka and Tani are going to battle. No, Tani, Manawa called out. You do not need to fight this dragon. Ka let out another earth-shattering roar. His body glowed orange, and he aimed a stream of hot lava at Tani. The sea dragon ducked under the waves. Oh, so that's what a lava dragon does. He spits out hot lava. Bet that hurts. Then Tani's head emerged, and her body glowed turquoise. A huge glowing wave rose up behind her and then splashed down on Ka. I can't stop Ka, Opeli cried. Manawa shook his fist. Tani, listen to me. Ka stomped his feet, making the ground shake. White smoke poured from his nostrils. Lightning streaked from the sky. Opeli gasped. This will sometimes happen when a volcano erupts, she cried. Before the lava pours out, the earth moves and lightning flashes. Oh, the lava dragon, he's got all these powers. Ka reared his head back. Roar! Ka spewed another stream of hot, bubbling lava from his mouth. Chapter 11. They won't listen. They're just like little girls who are not listening to their parents. They just go off and do what they want. They're not listening, and see what happens. Bad things are going to happen. The boiling hot lava almost hit Tani, but the sea dragon dived under the water. The lava quickly cooled. Ka, enough, Opeli cried. Tani is not your enemy. Ka roared again and stomped his feet. Opeli shook her head. He won't listen. He doesn't understand me. Tani doesn't understand me either, Manawa said. Can I ask Worm to communicate with your dragons? Drake asked. That's a good idea. Let's see what Worm can do, Manawa replied. Worm had heard Drake. I will do my best, he said. I will begin with Tani. Worm moved close to the edge of the water. His body glowed green. Tani continued to duck and thrash. She is very angry, Worm replied. Tani says that sea dragons vowed to live in peace when they left the islands of Noah. She is angry with Ka for coming to this land. I cannot calm her, and she told me to tell you this is a matter between dragons, not humans. Can't you tell her that Ka didn't come here to start trouble? Drake asked. Worm shook his head. She is too angry to listen to reason. Yeah, just like a little child when she gets upset. Drake looked out at the ocean. Tani had stopped thrashing, but her body was glowing turquoise. She swam away from the shore. The waves followed her, uncovering the sand below. Is she leaving? Drake asked. Manawa's eyes were wide. No, he said. She is preparing to use her strongest power. We are all in danger. Danger. Chapter 12. Save the village. Looks like there's going to be a tsunami. What power is Tani going to use? Drake asked. He glanced at the ocean. He had never seen it do this before. The water pulled farther and farther away from the land. What do you think happens once that starts to happen? It pulls away from the land, and then it rushes into the land. That's what water does when you have a tsunami. It reaches back and then pours in. Oh, the Ngurura Nui, Manawa said. A very, very big wave. The Ngurura Nui, that's like a tidal wave or a tsunami. We call it a tidal wave on my island, Opeli added. A wave so big it can wipe out a village or even an island. Manawa nodded. Yes. Manawa pointed to the hill. The village is that way. Warn my people. Tell them to get to higher ground. Everyone, touch Worm, Drake cried. We can get there quickly. I must stay here, Manawa said. It is my sworn duty to protect Tani and to protect others from Tani. I need to keep trying to connect with her. I must stay as well, Opeli replied. I am responsible for Ka. But Manawa and Opeli, Drake began. Manawa shook his head. Just go and save my village. See the village up there? You can see it right up there. That's the village up in the mountains. Hurry, the wave is coming. There is no time, Opeli cried. An enormous wave was headed right toward the shore. It glowed with Tani's turquoise light. The wave looked to Drake as tall as King Roland's castle. There it comes. See that? The water pulled away from the shore. That's all sand there. There's the normal shoreline. And it pulled away, and now it's going to come rushing in. Bo, touch Worm and Shoe, Drake said, and Bo quickly obeyed. Drake put a hand on his dragon. Now, Worm, transport us to the village. Worm transported them right away. They landed in a village filled with huts that reminded Drake of his village in Bracken. The villagers gathered around Drake, Bo, and their dragons. Pania pushed through the crowd. See, I told you, she said. Baby dragons. Okay, so Pania was back in the village. Bo stepped forward. A Ngurura Nui is coming, he said. We must head to the top of the hill now. Wait, where is Manawa? Pania asked. And your other friend, Opeli. There they are. See Tania there, Pania. They're in the village. Drake gazed toward the ocean. He could see an enormous wave getting closer and closer. I'm sure they would skip a page. Yeah, there they are. Where are they? He gazed at the ocean. Manawa bravely stood on the rock with his hands on his hip. Opeli stood on shore while Ka roared and stomped his feet on the sand. Worm, we have to get them to safety, Drake said. I know, Worm agreed. See, the two dragon masters wouldn't abandon their dragons, and so now they're going to get swept away by the water unless Drake does something. Bo, we'll be right back, Drake said. Help the villagers get away. Then Drake touched his dragon, and they transported back down to the shore. Drake and Worm landed on the shore next to Opeli and Ka. The sound of the approaching wave roared louder than any dragon. Manawa, get down, both of you, touch Worm. Drake yelled over the roar of the wave. We have to get out of here. Suddenly, Worm's body began to glow. He moved away from the dragon masters and faced the tidal wave. What is Worm doing? They're trying to use him to get away, but he moves away from them and he faces the tidal wave. Maybe we hope he has a good idea. Worm, what are you doing? Drake cried. The glow exploded from Worm's body in a shower of green light. The light hit the bright turquoise wall of water. The wave began to glow with Worm's light. Then the wave stopped moving. It broke up into tiny droplets. The sparkling blue-green water rained down like mist all over the island. How about that? Worm, he comes up with something new every day. What a great trick. You saved us, Worm, Drake yelled. The glow faded from Worm's body, and the dragon collapsed on the sand. Drake ran to his side. Worm opened his eyes. Worm, are you okay? Drake asked. I am fine, Worm replied, just weak. Thank you, Worm, Manawa said. Then he gazed out at the ocean. Waves peacefully lapped against the shore. Tani bobbled on top of the water. She is calm for now, she said, looking down at his black eye stone. But how long will this peace last? Ka was still stomping his feet on the shore. A wisp of white smoke came from his nostrils. So Ka is still upset. The wet mist must have cooled Ka down, Opeli said, but she's about to get angry again. Bo ran down to the beach. Shu flew after him. That was amazing, Bo cried, and seeing Worm's mist gave me an idea. Shu's blue mist can heal dark magic. Oh, so isn't that nice? Shu's blue mist can heal dark magic. That's right, Drake said. I think she can turn our stones back on. Bo said, Drake, can you ask Worm to explain to Shu what we need her to do? I will, Drake said. He closed his eyes and repeated Bo's idea to Worm. Worm still looked weak, but the earth dragon nodded and closed his eyes. His body glowed green as he communicated with Shu. Manawa, Opeli, stand next to me, Bo cried, and the two dragon masters ran to join him. A moment later, Shu's body began to glow a soft blue. She opened her mouth and a pale, misty blue cloud came out. So she's going to try to turn the stones back on again. Chapter 14, Peace at Last. Shu's blue cloud floated through the air. Her healing mist rained down on the three black stones. I hope this works, Drake thought. The black slowly faded from the stones. Within seconds, the stones returned to their original green. Thank you, Shu, Bo said, patting his dragon. A moment later, Bo's dragonstone glowed brightly. He smiled. Shu can understand me. Opeli's eye stone began to glow, and so did Manawa's. I can hear Ka in my head again, Opeli said, smiling. He said he missed being connected to me. I can hear Tani too, Manawa announced. She did not like being without a dragon friend either. He turned to Drake. You have helped my people. I would like to help you stop the wizard. Thank you, Drake said. Manawa frowned, but I worry that even with their stones working again, it is too dangerous for Tani and Ka to be together. How can Opeli and I help you if we are always trying to keep our dragons calm? He asked. It's time for them to make peace, Opeli said. Ka, come. Opeli and Ka walked to the water's edge, and Manawa followed them. Tani calmly floated on the water near the shore. Opeli and Ka slowly approached the sea dragon. Okay, it's just like Russia and Ukraine trying to make peace here. We'll see what happens. Then she stopped and turned to Manawa. Please tell Connie that Ka and I did not come here to challenge her, Opeli said. We came to ask for help. Help to stop the evil wizard who made our stones go black. Manawa's eye stone glowed as he repeated this to Tani. Opeli looked at Ka. Will you keep the peace with Tani while we fight the wizard? Ka roared and Opeli smiled. He said yes. Okay, so Ka agrees to keep the peace. Tani, Ka will not fight you. Will you promise to do the same? Manawa asked. The sea dragon nodded her shaggy head. There will be no more fighting, Manawa announced. Opeli smiled. She climbed onto Ka's tail. Her eye stone glowed. Ka lifted his tail over the water. Opeli reached out and touched Tani's face. Thank you, she said. Okay, so that's Opeli. Opeli is touching Tani's face just to get more friendly with her. This is great, Drake said. Now we should hurry and get back to Bracken. We'll need both your dragons to reverse Astrid's terrible spell. Remember, you need the 4 types of dragons in order to reverse the spell. That's a false life spell, I think. Chapter 15. Okay, this is the last chapter. Get ready for the big finish. Chapter 15. What's wrong with Worm? Okay, it's a question. See that question mark there? That means the sentence is a question. The sentence says, what's wrong? Oh, I'm sorry. It says, what's wrong, Worm? Not what's wrong with Worm. What's wrong, Worm? Okay, they're asking Worm what's wrong. Manawa, you're okay, Pania cried. Okay, here comes Pania from the village. She sees that Manawa's okay. She's very happy. That's her brother. She ran onto the beach and hugged her brother. Several villagers streamed behind her. A man and woman emerged from the crowd and approached Manawa. Mother, father, Manawa cried. So much has happened. An evil wizard took away the power of my eye stone. Tani created a Nagaru Nui, and this dragon, Worm, saved us all. He pointed to Worm, who was still curled up on the sand. So remember, Worm is very weak from using his extreme power to stop the tsunami wave. Drake stepped forward. I'm Drake, Worm's Dragon Master. We need Manawa and Tani to come with us to help defeat the wizard. Manawa's father nodded. As a dragon friend, Manawa must protect the world from evil. Evil. Manawa's mother hugged him. How long will you be gone? Aren't they more concerned about Worm? Just a few days, Drake replied. We can get to my land, Bracken, quickly. And then we need to find one more dragon and create the counterspell. Drake turned toward Manawa. To transport to Bracken, we all need to be connected to Worm. You just need to touch Worm with one hand and Tani with the other. Can she leave the ocean? Manawa nodded. She can. Okay, so the sea dragon can come out of the ocean. Manawa nodded. She can. His eye stone glowed and Tani crawled toward the shore. Drake's eyes widened as he looked at the huge size of the sea dragon. Some villagers had approached Worm and were gently petting and thanking him. Worm was sitting up and he looked better. Can you please transport us to the Valley of Clouds? Drake asked. I'm not sure Tani will fit inside the castle. Okay, so they want to go to the Valley of Clouds rather than the castle because Tani might not fit. Worm nodded. Drake touched Worm. Ready? Worm began to glow a very soft green. Drake closed his eyes, preparing to transport. Nothing happened. He opened his eyes. Worm's glow had faded. Worm, what's wrong? Drake asked his tired-looking dragon. I am too weak, Worm replied. I cannot transport. Chapter 16. Oh, I thought that was the last chapter. This is the last chapter, I think. Chapter 16. Here's the big finish. A feast. Oh no, Drake cried. Nothing like this has ever happened before. Is Worm all right? Bo asked. I'm not sure, Drake said. How are you feeling? Drake asked Worm. Tired, Worm replied, but I think I'm getting stronger. Just then, Drake remembered the magic mirror. The magic mirror. Okay, I remember hearing about that. Let me ask Griffith if there is anything he can do. Drake took the mirror off his belt. He looked into it. Griffith, are you there? The glass in the mirror swirled, and the wizard's face appeared. Drake, have you found the sea dragon? Yes, Drake said, but a lot of things have happened. Drake told Griffith everything. And now Astrid has the branch from the shadow bush, Drake finished, and Worm can't transport. Worm must have used a lot of power to stop that tidal wave, Griffith said. He just needs to rest. And don't worry about the branch. Because you took it from Astrid while she was casting the spell, she will have to start the spell all over again. We have a few days. Rest and return when you are ready. We will, Drake promised, and Griffith's face faded. Drake looked up to see everyone gathered around him, the other dragon masters and the villagers. Manawa put an arm around Drake. We will take care of you, he promised. Let's go to the village. Then Manawa turned to Tani. You may go back to the sea for now, my friend. I will see you later. Tani nodded and returned to the ocean. The villagers led the way back up the hill. Worm moved slowly, and Drake stayed with him the whole way. Once they got to the village, Manawa put a hand on Worm. This is Worm, the dragon who saved us, he announced. He needs food and rest. What does he eat? Pania asked Drake. He likes all kinds of fruit, Drake replied, and vegetables, just like Granddaddy. Granddaddy likes eating vegetables. I guess I'm kind of like Worm, huh? Pania ran off and came back with two girls her age, carrying baskets of large orange berries. They placed them in front of Worm, and he gobbled them up. Nearby, smoke was coming from a pit dug into the ground. Delicious smells began to fill the air. Is that food cooking? Bo asked. Manawa nodded. It's fish with orange yams, and the white vegetable is taro root. It smells delicious, Drake said, and Manawa nodded. When the food was ready, the villagers and the dragon masters feasted. Drake ate every tasty bite. After the feast, the dragons slept on beds of grass that the villagers had made for them. Manawa's parents set up sleeping mats for Drake, Bo, and Opeli in their home. A full belly helped Drake fall into a deep sleep. He awoke to sun streaming into the hut and to Griffith's voice. Drake, are you there? I have news, Griffith said. Griffith has news. Drake grabbed the mirror. I'm here. Rory and Anna learned where to find a wind dragon, Griffith told him. That is good news, but I have bad news too. What bad news? Drake asked. We got a report from wizards in Navid, Griffith replied. Astrid is using more powerful magic than they have ever seen. She has sped up the false life spell. She is about to bring the bones to life. That's what the spell does. It brings bones to life, and they become monsters. And they do whatever she wants. She's going to take over the world. Drake jumped up. Everyone, Astrid is about to cast her spell, he cried. I hope Worm is ready to transport. We need to get back to Bragan and find a wind dragon right away. Okay, that looks like that's the end of that. That's the end of this book. So then we'll have to pick up with this adventure on the next one, I think. So that's they're going to find the wind dragon and they're going to go stop the spell. So we'll have to see what happens in the next book. And it's a pretty exciting one. So here we are, Dragon Masters, Wave of the Sea Dragon. Bye-bye, girls.